Brought to you by...
When adapting a novel from page to screen, one must know the source material better than they know themselves. They have to find an intimacy with those words on the page, and find the comfort in being able to manipulate them enough to bring them to life in a new medium. Few filmmakers have proven up to the task over the years, especially with the works of Stephen King. Today, we discuss a film that for many years was considered to be unfilmable, an adaptation that for decades remained shelved, and carried around in the bag of a filmmaker who one day knew he had to be the one to bring the story to life. Mike Flanagan's adaptation of Stephen King's Gerald's Game is a gripping psychological thriller that expertly balances physical horror with profound emotional exploration. Released on Netflix, the film transforms a seemingly straightforward premise into a harrowing meditation on trauma, survival, and self-reclamation. The story centers on Jesse and Gerald, a middle-aged couple attempting to rekindle their relationship with a weekend getaway to an isolated lake house. Gerald handcuffs Jesse to the bed as part of a sexual game, but things take a horrifying turn when he dies of a heart attack, leaving Jesse trapped. What follows is a tense battle for survival, as Jessie confronts not only her precarious physical situation, but also deep-seated psychological scars from her past. Stephen King's 1992 novel Gerald's Game was long considered one of his unfilmable works due to its confined setting, introspective nature, and the heavy psychological and thematic content. However, Mike Flanagan's 2017 adaptation successfully overcame these challenges, thanks to a clear vision and creative filmmaking. King's novel is a harrowing psychological thriller that unfolds almost entirely within Jessie Burlingham's mind, as she struggles to survive after being left handcuffed to a bed. The book delves deeply into Jessie's memories, hallucinations, and inner monologues, posing a challenge for adaptation due to its lack of external action and reliance on introspection. Efforts to adapt Gerald's Game into a film had circulated for years, but most filmmakers found it too difficult to translate the story's internal narrative to the screen. Mike Flanagan, however, was intrigued by the challenge. Flanagan had proven his skills in horror and psychological storytelling, with films like Oculus and Hush. He approached Gerald's Game with an intent of preserving its intimacy, while using visual and narrative techniques to externalize Jessie's inner struggles. Netflix greenlit the project, providing Flanagan with creative freedom to stay true to King's vision without the constraints of a theatrical release. This partnership allowed the film to embrace its darker, more mature themes. Flanagan masterfully adapted King's novel. His direction is intimate, keeping the camera tight on Jessie to amplify the claustrophobia and isolation. The use of flashbacks and hallucinations is seamless, blending Jessie's internal struggles with her physical plight. Cinematographer Michael Fimagnari enhances the tension with warmth, suffocating hues inside the lake house, contrasted by eerie, shadow-filled scenes featuring the Moonlight Man. The sound design is unsettlingly effective, from the creak of the bed to the guttural sounds of dehydration. Every auditory detail immerses the viewers in Jessie's harrowing experience. The score, composed by the Newton brothers, is minimal yet haunting, emphasizing Jessie's isolation and dread. Carla Gugino delivers an exceptional performance, carrying the film almost single-handedly. Her portrayal of Jessie is raw, vulnerable, and transformative. She captures Jessie's shifting state of despair, determination, and empowerment with a subtlety that keeps the viewers glued to the screen. Bruce Greenwood also shines as Gerald, appearing in hallucinations and flashbacks, crafting a layered portrayal of a man whose outward charm masks his darker tendencies. Analyzing Gerald's game from a psychological perspective reveals a nuanced exploration of trauma, repression, identity, and survival. The film portrays Jesse's journey as not just a fight for physical survival, but as a confrontation with her deepest psychological wounds and her path toward healing and empowerment. At its heart, it's a story about confronting repressed trauma. Jesse's predicament in the present, being handcuffed to the bed, is a metaphor for her mental imprisonment by the unaddressed abuse she suffered as a child. Jesse's predicament symbolizes the impact of unresolved trauma. Her flashbacks to the Eclipse incident, where her father sexually abused her and manipulated her into secrecy, present a pivotal psychological wound. The abuse and her subsequent silence manifests in her adult life as a submissive personality, an inability to set boundaries, and a tendency to accept control from others, including her husband Gerald. Jesse's repression of the incident reflects Freud's theory of defense mechanisms, where the mind unconsciously blocks traumatic memories to protect the individual. However, as the film demonstrates, repression is a temporary solution that often resurfaces in times of stress or crisis. Her isolation in the lake house forces her to face these buried memories head-on. The setting and situation act as triggers, causing Jessie to relive her trauma. Her father's abuse is mirrored by Gerald's controlling behavior, which opens the floodgates to her repressed memories. The physical restraints of the handcuffs serve as a symbol for Jessie's psychological entrapment. She is bound not just to the bed, but also to the roles, expectations, and fears imposed on her throughout her life. Jessie's internal response to her predicament aligns with the concept of learned helplessness, a psychological state where individuals believe they have no control over their situation, even when solutions exist. Her journey toward freeing herself represents a shift from passivity to agency. Jessie's eventual escape, achieved through a harrowing act of self-mutilation, symbolizes the painful process of confronting and breaking free from the bonds of trauma and control. Jessie's interactions with hallucinated visions of Gerald and her younger self are critical to understanding her psyche. These figures externalize her inner conflicts, providing insight into her mental state and enabling her path to self-discovery. Gerald's ghost represents Jessie's internalized fears, doubts, and feelings of inadequacy. He embodies the critical role of undermining her self-worth and keeps her trapped in her own submissive role. Confronting and silencing him signifies her rejection of these self-destructive thoughts. The younger version of Jessie suggests a connection to her untainted identity before the trauma. Through this dialogue, she gains clarity about her father's manipulation and her own coping mechanisms, allowing her to reconcile with her past and reclaim her autonomy. From a psychological perspective, Jessie's struggle for survival highlights the interplay between primal instincts and higher cognitive processes. Jessie experiences dissociation during moments of extreme stress, such as imagining herself leaving her body or having conversations with hallucinations. While dissociation can be a defense mechanism against overwhelming trauma, it also enables Jessie to analyze her situation and devise a plan of escape. Jessie's ability to endure her pain, confront her fears, and problem-solving in life-threatening situations underscores the human capacity for resilience. Her transformation reflects psychologist Viktor Frankl's idea that finding memories in suffering can lead to personal growth and strength. The Moonlight Man serves as a symbolic representation of Jessie's fears and unresolved trauma, aligning with Carl Jung's concept of the shadow, the repressed, darker aspects of the psyche. The Moonlight Man appears during moments of extreme vulnerability, embodying Jessie's fear of death, helplessness, and the unknown. He is both a real threat and a psychological manifestation of her deepest anxieties. By confronting the Moonlight Man and acknowledging his reality, Jessie symbolically integrates her shadow. This act represents her acceptance of her fears and her ability to move forward without being paralyzed by them. The psychological journey within Gerald's game illustrates the stages of healing from trauma. Jessie moves through key stages. Her hallucinations force her to recognize the abuse she endured and the impact it has had on her life. Jessie confronts the memories of her father and the power dynamics of her marriage, allowing her to break free from the patterns they imposed. By physically escaping the bed and mentally reclaiming her identity, Jessie takes control of her narrative. The film's conclusion, where Jessie writes a letter to her younger self, signifies her reintegration of past experiences into her present self. This act of compassion toward her younger self reflects self-forgiveness and closure. The film underscores the integrational impact of abuse. Jessie's father's manipulation left her with long-lasting psychological scars, influencing her relationships and self-perception. However, her journey shows that while trauma shapes us, it doesn't have to define us. Jessie's survival and transformation offer hope that healing and liberation are possible, even after profound suffering. Well, friends, that's going to be all for now. If you like this video, as always, I urge you to check out this film for yourself. It is still available on Netflix, and if there is a physical release, I'll link it down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe for more content, and if you really want to help support this channel, please come find us on Patreon. Until next time, stay safe, face the traumas of your past, grow to be a better person. And as always, thanks for watching.